Well, before that, can we get the situation about the signing and the,
Sure.
with regard to the member for St. Philip's North, etc. Let's get that out of the way because no definitive decision was made. So I'm going to call on the Honorable Leader of the Opposition to restate his position as quickly as he can. I'll ask the Attorney General to reply, and I think that it is important enough that I have to rule on it for Hansard. All right? So, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, just take your time and restate the point that you were making before the close yesterday.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my point was simply that the member for St. Philip's North, during the swearing-in ceremony, he took the oath, but he did not subscribe. And for any member to participate in any business of the House, Mr. Speaker, for any member to participate in this honorable House, they must not only take the oath, Mr. Speaker, and it's Section 6 of the House Standing Orders, Mr. Speaker, that the member must do two things. And Mr. Speaker, again, this is not a matter of just being contentious. Because if we're going to do things in this honorable House, it must be done properly. And just to simply acknowledge an error and correct it. You were sitting right there when the AG went off. I simply came here on Thursday when I started my budget presentation, Mr. Speaker, and I said to you, I am not sure as to where we go from here, but you can do your investigation and you can get back to me.
I have done so.
The mic is off, Mr. Speaker. Your mic is off.
Presumes that you're right. What turns on that? What is the effect as far as you're concerned? And if there's an effect, how is it to be remedied? I'm not saying I agree with you, but just for the sake of argument.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it was for us to look at it and see what is the next step. Because based on what my understanding of this is, Mr. Speaker, the member cannot participate in any business of the House. So it simply means that since we started this honorable House, because if he has to subscribe, Mr. Speaker, as a member to participate, it simply means that he had to subscribe as a member to be the Deputy Speaker, and the House cannot convene without a Deputy Speaker. So what happened is one ripple effect, Mr. Speaker. And all I did was to raise it so that we could have corrected it.
All right, thank you.
But Mr. Speaker, I'm not finished. Because with that, they continued. Because to suspend the standing orders as they did on Tuesday, which the member voted on the motion. The member should not have voted on the motion, Mr. Speaker, because they didn't have the majority.
All right,
if
so
the member is not allowed to vote or to participate.
That is what you said the effect is. Mr. AG, shortly, what's your position?
Mr. Speaker, while I listen to my friend, his arguments, with respect, are without merit. We are now operating, Mr. Speaker, on the revised edition of Standing Orders of 2020. Prior thereto, there was the Standing Order of 1967. Those standing orders never made provision, as far as I'm aware, to the election of a Deputy Speaker of the House. I'm going to refer you, sir, just to the standing orders for clarity. What are those? Mr. Speaker, with respect again, sir, and I'm only replying to my friend, on a subsection 5.1 of the standing orders, it says this, Mr. Speaker, whenever the House first meets after a general election, and before it proceeds to conduct any business except for the election of the Speaker of the House, it shall elect a member. A member from where? A member from what? To be Deputy Speaker. And it goes on to speak about if the office becomes vacant, we shall proceed to elect a member to be Deputy Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not a rocket scientist. I only interpret the law as I see it. In order to become a Deputy Speaker, first of all, you've got to be a member of the House. It's clear, pellucid. My friend spoke about Section 6, Mr. Speaker, about an oath. This is what the oath says, Mr. Speaker. 6.1, except for the purpose of electing a Speaker and Deputy Speaker after a general election, except for those two, no member of the House shall take part in the proceedings thereof, unless he has made and subscribed to the oath of allegiance in the form set out in Appendix 4. Except, he said except, right? Then he goes on to say that, provided that any person authorized by the law to make an affirmation instead of an oath may do so. 2, immediately following the election of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker after general election, and these are the operating words, my friend. The clerk shall administer the oath first to whom? The Speaker. After the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and then to the other members. Did the clerk administer the oath to the Speaker first? Yes. Was it administered to the Deputy Speaker? Yes. The other members of the House? Yes. Now, if all A's are B's, and all B's are C's, all A's have to be C's. That's the first thing I learned when I was 18 years old as a student at UWI. Use of English, logics. Mr. Speaker, with respect, sir, I must say that I heard the leader of the opposition speak. His arguments are completely and totally without merit. This law is clear. And remember, my friend, Mr. Pring, because you and I took part in these discussions too, when we revised the law of 1967. And Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm asking you, sir, to make certain that we look at the other areas about selecting committee members, etc. Look at matters like these later on. But as far as Mr. Dowd is concerned, Mr. Speaker,
I didn't get what you just said.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to call upon you to make certain that you follow this as well. Section 80 says, there shall be the following secessional select committees.
80, let me find.
81. 80. 80.
All right, just a minute.
The Standing Order Committee,
Just a minute.
Section 80, subsection 1.
Uh-huh.
They shall be following the following
No, I'm not dealing with that now.
afterwards. All right,
I'm
sir.
dealing strictly with a ruling that I intend to make.
So, sir,
I'm
in
not
that
dealing
case,
with-
in that case, Mr. Speaker, I submit with respect that my friend, if you thought I insulted him yesterday, I did not mean to do that. I was merely stating a fact. Mr. Speaker, his arguments are completely without merit and ought not to be given any credence or be supported in any way,
All right,
shape,
so
or form.
that's your position.
Yes, sir.
Very well. I have, as I had...
But Mrs.
No, I don't
Mr.
need a
Speaker.
I don't need to hear you any further, right? We're not debating. I've asked you to put the position so I could get it clearly, and for him to respond clearly, and then I have to rule.
Speaker, I don't understand now. This again, in my view, Mr. Speaker. You should be impartial with your judgment, Mr. Speaker.
That's it.
Class 1, this is the present, 2023. We have Dean Jonas, he also signed reports. We also have
No. I've looked at this carefully. I have listened to the submissions that were made by the Leader of the Opposition and by the Attorney General. It seems to me that the issue created by the Leader of the Opposition on behalf of the opposition bench is that it's admitted that the oath was taken, but it was not subscribed. Section 6.1 states, except for the purpose of electing a speaker and deputy speaker after a general election, no member of the House shall take part in proceedings hereof until he has made and subscribed the oath of allegiance in the form set out in the Appendix 4 to these standing orders. Let us stop there. I repeat, until he has made and subscribed the oath of allegiance in the form set out in Appendix 4 to these standing orders. We therefore turn to Appendix 4. There are two appendices that require swearing. One is Appendix 4, which is the forms of oath. The other is Appendix 5, oath of office. That does not apply in these circumstances. The oath of allegiance says, I, blank, blank, do swear or solemnly affirm that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs, well, in this case, it would be King Charles III, his heirs and successors, according to law. I have reviewed a Facebook, YouTube. I have reviewed what exactly happened on that particular day. I have looked at it again. And it is clear that the honorable member for St. Mary's, for St. Philip's North, took the oath of allegiance and subscribed to that oath. No. No. I then decided to go back to 2000. No, I don't want 2000. 2014. in the register. 2014. In 2014, on June the 25th, Dean Jonas swore and swore the oath of allegiance as Deputy Speaker. There was no query, and the Parliament sat and has continued to sit. In 2018, after the 2018 elections, London Benjamin took the oath, as did the member for St. Philip's North, as Deputy Speaker. It is clear that the custom has been that, well, not only the custom, but the House has always accepted that the Deputy Speaker swears the oath of allegiance and signs as Deputy Speaker. The fact that he does not sign as member is just spurious. It's absolutely of no account here, whether he signs as a member or he signs as the Deputy Speaker. But according to record and custom, every Deputy Speaker in the last two elections have signed as Deputy Speaker, and the Parliament has continued. Further, however, even if I am wrong, and I am not, the Parliament sat through the budget. While it is true that the Leader of the Opposition did raise that point in passing, there was no issue created. At that time, there was no effort by the opposition bench to decline to sit or to move a motion that the member for St. Philip's North cannot sit. Consequently, the budget has been completed. Every member of the opposition benches has spoken on the budget. And in fact, the legal principle applies here. You cannot approbate and reprobate. You cannot accept the jurisdiction, accept that the budget debate was properly done, vote on it, vote in the negative on it, and then raise it now that it cannot. I rule that the Deputy Speaker signed and was in order, and Hansard shall so record. Thank you.